Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel Bandy's Books, and today we are here with a Tag Tuesday video. This is a tag that has only been recently created but has been popping up all over BookTube, and that's because it is full of great questions about kind of the behind the scenes of BookTube. That is the Behind the Booktube Tag. This was originally created by Shelly Swearingen, and again, really fantastic questions. So let's go ahead and jump right into them. Question 1, what has surprised you about BookTube, both in a good way and a bad way? So in a good way, I think the thing that surprised me the most is just how friendly and welcoming the BookTube community has been. I have had so much joy in getting to know people here and having friends to discuss what I'm reading with and find all these amazing book suggestions and things like that. So I think ultimately the community and the warmth of the community is the most surprising positive thing. In terms of a negative thing, I don't know if I have anything that's really concretely negative. I would say that one thing that was maybe surprising and not necessarily the most positive thing would be just how much work it is keeping up with YouTube videos. In my mind, I thought it would be a little bit easier than it is, and sometimes that can feel a little bit negative. Overall, I still really enjoy it, but definitely there's times when I'm looking at editing videos and just I feel like, I don't want to do this. Question number 2, how do you balance reading and BookTube with the rest of your life? Balance, what is that? I am one of those people who, when I'm into something, I thrust myself into it head first to a borderline obsessive point. I don't really know how to do things in moderation or in a balanced way. So I just kind of keep pushing until I burn out, I guess. In an attempt to keep some balance, I try really hard to create myself like to-do lists and balance like my needs for YouTube and my personal needs. So like when I create my to-do list for today, for example, I fold my paper in half and I write down all the household things I want to get done, all of the personal things I want to get done, and then I write down like 1 or 2 YouTube things that I want to get done. And then I want to make sure that I cross off a lot of like the personal stuff and the household stuff before I allow myself to start on the YouTube stuff. Because if I get into the YouTube stuff before I do the other stuff, I'll just do it obsessively and nothing else will happen. And before you tell me that that's like an unhealthy relationship with BookTube or reading, just know that this is how I approach everything in my life, every interest I've ever had, every hobby as a kid, every hobby as an adult, even my job, my career, everything. Unfortunately, it's just the way that my brain functions. When I'm really interested in things, I get these huge dopamine rushes and it makes me just really want to focus on that until I run the dopamine out. Question number 3, have you ever thought about starting a Patreon? I have considered starting a Patreon. I don't think at this point that I have enough to really offer people for Patreon, and I'm not sure honestly that I have enough support for Patreon yet that it would be really worth it. I have considered down the road maybe starting like my own book club and having that through Patreon. I have considered maybe making special videos, especially like the recipe videos, because those seem to be kind of a high demand where I review and teach a recipe at the same time. But I haven't really decided what I would do, when I would do it, how I would do it. So right now it's kind of just pie in the sky. Question 4, have you made any mistakes on BookTube? I think everybody makes mistakes on BookTube. I don't think that you learn how to do something without making mistakes. So I feel quite certain that I have made mistakes. I'm sure some of them I'm not even aware of. I think something that I am aware of that would be considered a mistake is a lack of consistency at different points. When I first joined BookTube, I was very, very consistent and I got my BookTube up to about like 360. And then life got a little hard. I had some issues with my chronic illness and I kind of just stopped posting for a couple months and it really stalled out my growth. And then when I came back, I had to like rebuild all over again. I lost a bunch of subscribers. I lost the relationship that I had with a lot of people just by that lack of showing up. And so I think that that's a mistake. I think that instead of focusing on posting as much as you possibly can, you should focus on consistency and just posting consistently. Question 5, do you have any advice for new booktubers? So this kind of piggybacks off of the question that I just answered, but my advice for new booktubers would be to focus on your consistency. You do not have to post every single day. You do not have to even post every other day. You can post 1 video a week. But as long as you are doing it consistently and your viewers know when to expect your content, you will probably see a decent amount of growth. I think that that's the biggest thing, is that people get really excited about ideas. And this isn't just in BookTube, this is in life in general. People get really excited about new ideas and they delve into it full-heartedly, and then they burn themselves out and they lack consistency. When you start a new business, when you start social media, when you start a new hobby, everything is about consistency. If you're consistent, you're learning, you're building friends, you're building a support group, you're building connections, and that's how you grow. I mean, that's how you grow a business, that's how you grow a booktube, that's how you grow a vlog, that's how you grow anything really. Question number 6, what are your thoughts on the YouTube algorithm? Well, let me just say I like the YouTube algorithm a lot better than I like the Instagram algorithm right now. That I don't know what's going on over there, but that's beside the point because that's not part of the question. The YouTube algorithm for me has been fine. I haven't had too much issue figuring out how to work with it. I think the fact that you can use hashtags, descriptions, titles, and tags to kind of figure out how to market your videos makes it a lot easier to use the algorithm to your advantage, because it's pretty easy to like pigeonhole your content. And once YouTube has figured out where your content belongs, I feel like they do a pretty good job of pushing similar content to like your average viewership. So for example, in my case, like everything I post has to do with books somehow or other. Even like when I'm posting vacation blogs, I try to like visit little free libraries or bookstores, or, you know, read a book and talk about my thoughts on the books somehow so that I can relate it back to books. And by keeping like a concrete platform and concrete tags and things like that, I find that YouTube has an easy enough time figuring out who to suggest my videos to. And in return, like on my Bandy's Books channel, all I look for is book content. And so YouTube is pretty good at recommending new booktubers to me. So I think the algorithm works pretty well. Question 7A, how do you decide what types of videos to make? So I have some videos that are concrete. So like my book of the month prediction video happens on the 8th of every single month. I do try to do a TBR and an end of the month wrap up. Those ones are concrete at certain points. And then I have like a weekly series. For example, on Fridays, I try to always do a book review. And on Tuesdays, I try to always do a tag video. So there's certain days of the week that I do specific things. As far as like my non-specific days, so that's usually Monday and Wednesday, I fill those with whatever I feel like filling them with. If I want to do a book shopping vlog, if I want to take a trip and go visit a bunch of little free libraries and unhaul a bunch of books, if I want to do like a top 10 books of whatever genre, if I want to do a video where I talk about some interesting topic that's popped up, those are my days to do that. Question 7B, are you overwhelmed with video ideas? Yes, constantly. I have one of those brains that never stops. I will literally lay down to go to bed at night, and then all of a sudden a video idea will pop into my head. And so I keep my notes app open in my phone. I have like a list for video ideas. So that way when something does pop into my head, if it's a good idea, I can type it in really fast. And that way I have it to try to remember, you know, when I actually do sit down. I have Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays off. So Sunday and Monday, Oz and I spend time together. That's our weekend. And then Tuesday, I'm on my own all day long. So that's really like my concrete YouTube day. And so that's when I revisit all of those ideas and try to narrow down which ones I'm actually going to use at what period of time. Question 8, have you ever regretted posting a video? No, I have not. There's some that are obviously worse than others in terms of quality. Like if you look at my very, very first videos, they're choppy, they're really poorly edited, the lighting is terrible, the volume is terrible, it's all over the place. But I don't regret posting those, because in order to learn how to do better than that, I had to post those ones, right? And just like everyone else, you have to post mediocre content or even bad content to get to posting better content. I'm sure that a couple years from now, I'll be looking back at videos from this time period and being like, ugh, these are so terrible. I was making so many mistakes, but that is all part of growing. Question 9A, are the number of views or subscribers meaningful to you? I mean, I think I would be lying if I tried to say that they weren't meaningful to me in some capacity. Are they the most meaningful part of BookTube? Absolutely not. The most meaningful part of BookTube for me is the relationships with other booktubers and like having people to talk books with. But I do find that the numbers are a little bit meaningful. I do find myself interested to see like how my channel is growing. Not necessarily in a competitive sense, not that it necessarily determines like my worth in terms of BookTube, but just because it's interesting to see how my videos are spreading, how people are enjoying content. And it's meaningful in that it helps me understand what other people want to watch and helps me kind of, you know, create videos that are interesting to other people. Because why would we be posting videos here if we didn't want people to see them, you know? Question 9B, are the numbers of views or subscribers a marker of success? Definitely not. I have found some really phenomenal channels that are like in the 100, 200, 500 subscribers area. And for me, they're sometimes better than channels that have, 2, 3, 4,000 subscribers. Sometimes they're even better than channels that have 50,000 subscribers. I think that success, is an individual thing. So obviously we each determine our success differently. For me, success here is that I'm enjoying myself. I'm building friendships around a common interest. I have people to talk books with. I have more recommendations than I will ever be able to read in my entire life. And that community aspect for me is the success of this channel. This isn't a competition. This isn't a career. This is a hobby. It is a hobby that I'm working hard at because I'm very interested and invested in it. But whether I have 1,000 subscribers, even when I had 300 subscribers, like every 100 subscribers that I've gotten, I feel so proud of myself because I honestly started this expecting to have maybe 100 people if I was lucky. And now I'm a little over 1,000. Success for me really has been determined in stages because the first stage of this channel, success was just sitting down and filming videos and figuring out how to edit them and upload them because I was A, terrified of doing it, B, I had no clue how to do it, and C, was extremely self-conscious once I put content out there. So that was success at that stage. And then like in the mid stage, consistency was success. And at this current stage of my channel, success for me is, like I said, a lot of engagement, making friends, and just enjoying BookTube for what it is. Question 10, are you disappointed with the growth in your channel? No, I think I already mentioned this. When I started this channel, I was like excited when I got to the first 100. I didn't really think seriously that anyone was gonna be that excited about what I had to say about books. So I just hit 1,000 last week and I'm up to 1,017 right now. And my mind is blown every time a new person subscribes. I am not at all disappointed with where my channel is at, and I don't think I ever will be disappointed because it's not a competition for me. Question number 11, have you ever thought about quitting BookTube? Kind of, but not really. Not in any sort of serious capacity. I've mentioned this before, but I do deal with a chronic illness, and sometimes it can be pretty debilitating. And there's been a few moments where I've been really sick and feeling terrible, and like the thought of having to do work on BookTube has just been exhausting, and I've reached like a point where I've had to like stop and take a break. And during those breaks, when I'm allowing myself to recover and heal, I have at times considered like the amount of extra work I'm creating for myself by doing BookTube videos. But then I also consider like the joy that I get out of it and how I enjoy seeing everyone else's content and like engaging with people. And it always kind of balances out for me at the end. So while it has crossed my mind a time or two, it's never been in any sort of serious capacity. Question 12A, what are the most touching comments? Okay, so I have received a ton of touching comments and there's a whole variety of them. I think probably some of my most touching ones have been people that like tried the recipes from my recipe and review videos, which will be resuming very, very soon. I love getting feedback when people try the recipe, especially, obviously I want it to work out for them. So it's great receiving enthusiastic feedback on the recipes. I also really love receiving feedback when I recommend a book and somebody goes and reads it. I love hearing their thoughts, whether they agree or disagree with me. I mean, of course, it's like a great feeling when I recommend a book and they're like, oh my God, this book is amazing. But it's also okay if somebody reads this book and is like, hey, I feel completely opposite to you. I didn't love this and here's why. I just enjoy that they took the time to take something that I said seriously. Question 12B, what are the most negative comments? So I haven't received a whole ton of negative comments on my channel. In fact, it's very few and far between. But the couple negative comments that I have received are typically on topics that people view as politically motivated. So I say politically in parentheses like this because I don't view them as political subjects. I read a ton of books, both fiction and nonfiction, that talk about very current and relevant themes. And I also have a focus on this channel of reading diversely. And occasionally when I'm discussing reading diversely or some of the themes that affect people of diverse backgrounds, I have had people kind of push back with very political statements. And while I don't try to preach or get overly political on my channel, I will say that I believe unequivocally that people of all genders, sexualities, races, ethnicities, abilities, age groups, etc. are equal. And I am unwilling to compromise on that. I will not tolerate comments from people that, you know, want to argue whether somebody deserves to be treated as a human or not. And so for me, those would probably be the most negative comments. I usually just delete those comments and then I block that person because I'm just not interested in that. I'm not here to entertain any sort of, you know, politically motivated rant. People of all backgrounds are welcome on my channel, and I want to make sure that everyone is protected and feels safe in the space that I'm trying to create. Question 13, in regards to BookTube, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't know. I haven't really planned that far into my BookTube future. I would like to think that I'm still going to be posting content and still be here discussing different books and what's current, relevant. I have made so many great connections in this community that it's really hard to imagine at this point, like leaving it and going off to do something else. So I guess I'd like to think that in 5 years, I'll still be posting BookTube videos and still discussing best books that are coming out and the things that I'm reading and just engaging with all of you wonderful people. So that's the end of the Behind the Booktube tag. I hope that you found the questions and answers interesting. And if you did, hit that thumbs up. Comment down below and let me know what is the most positive thing that you have gained from BookTube. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video, and that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.